Hey everybody, this is Some Assembly Required, and I am Paul. That beautiful American man there with his hat is Bart, and of course we are joined by Jim Godfrey. Hello, guys.
Hello, plebs.
Hello, plebs, he says. How is everybody? Are we good? Are we happening? Have we had a great February? Well, that's a mouthful right now.
Yeah. Pretty good so far.
We're trying, mate. We're trying.
Good. So, we're just waiting for our hi Landry Freak. We're just waiting for our esteemed guest. That's Mr. Mark Webber. I believe he should be joining us very soon, hopefully. And while we wait for him, we're going to keep on with the normal show segment as we're doing. Hey, Sergeant Slaughter. And yeah, so on the topic of February, what did you guys get up to for Valentine's Day?
Zero.
Yeah, I think we watched a movie and had takeout or something like that.
Okay,
yeah, we
cool.
tend to skip that as a night. It's I don't know, a bit cliched in it. Look at me, all romantic. Yeah, you're getting nothing, wife.
Yeah, right. That's terrible. But I hear where you're coming from, because it's a very, a more jaded version of myself is like, oh, it's a very consumerist kind of situation. And then there's another side of me that's like, well, there's always cool specials on chocolate, so whatever. But that's cool. Okay, I did about the same. Kid. I'm not gonna lie. Hey,
the inner fat kid.
The inner fat kid. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Hey, Matthew. What's up, man? How's it, dude? We won't tell anybody you're at work unless your boss watches this. If he does, that's cool.
I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm just going to tell everybody.
Yeah, Bart's like, it's plausible deniability. Yeah. So, yeah. What did I get up to on Valentine's? My lady and I, we were so crazy busy that was like, honestly, the last thought on our mind. It was like, happy Valentine's Day, cool, whatever. And then we just ended up, I think we ended up watching a silly movie. We watched something silly, and we also got like some takeout and stuff. We didn't go out to a restaurant or do anything particularly like particularly romantic. But yeah, we were just like, anyway. But I just thought I'd throw it out there. And also for the listeners, and for those of you that are in the chat box, I'd love to hear what you guys did for Valentine's Day.
Or who?
Or who? Good. So yeah, guys, I've heard people celebrate this day by buying each other gifts. I know that people go and do dinners. I know that some people even propose on Valentine's Day. And there's lots of like stuff. So I don't want to like knock it. It is meant to be a romantic holiday. And it is probably the reason you get a lot of October-born peeps in the world. So, well, September, October-born people. So, go February. Anyway, that said, we have been doing lots of cool stuff. I know that Jim and Bart have been making some very cool things. I don't want to spoil them. So, gentlemen, do you want to? Who wants to go first, and who wants to tell everybody what you've been busy on? Yeah, there we go. Bart's got something he's showing off, but I think that's super secret.
First there, Bart.
What's that, Jim?
You go first there, mate.
I have, and it's not finished, still in pieces, but I'll give you a sneak peek of this playset I'm working on.
Wow, man, you made a hot diorama.
Yeah, I took 2 pieces of crap Star Wars things I got, and I'm going to make one playset. I think I have 7 or 8 guys I'm going to make to go along with it, Cobra guys.
Cool.
The other thing I'm working on is I just showed you that guy somewhere. Stupid camera. I'm working on 7 of these
That is
guys
looking so cool.
for
Wow.
Mr. Creech. Hired me to do him some figures. He sent me the figures. Some of the accessories, like the chest piece and the backpack, were mine. I've modified those. I've sculpted on a sheath for the knife. I'm going to toss in some other freebie goodies, but I told him he'll have to find out about those once he gets them. So I've been working on that. Other than that, I got a surprise mashup vehicle to do after that for everybody. So I'm not going to say anything about that just yet. You'll have to watch the Facebook page whenever.
Cool. Okay. Nice, dude. Yeah. Just so that everybody in the chat and all of our viewers know, I am currently house sitting my neighbor's house. My neighbor's across the road from me. So I am coming to you live from my phone. So I do apologize if the sound quality is maybe not what you're used to. I don't know if it's better or worse. I can't tell. I'll only know once I put this up and I can see the recording. However, the lighting is all down lighting and it's making me look very serious. So yeah, but so new things. This is great because maybe it'll give me the opportunity, to one day, I don't know, we could do this podcast while I'm on a mountain or something, or while we're all on a mountain. I don't know. There's Wi-Fi, we can do it. Anyway, yeah, I've been busy on some model kits. I've actually been experimenting with some new products. So I'm going to show you guys something quickly. I know that you guys have seen it, and if you guys follow, anybody here follows me on my Instagram, you would have seen it already. But I got this cool polishing powder, and yeah, it's called Armored Komodo, and they do this cool powder where you just put it over something, and then you kind of buff it to this gloss shine, and you get this like kind of chrome look. And this is like a purple, and then the lighting here doesn't show it off that well. And I also got another one which is gold. This is looking a little bit more silver in the shot, but it's quite a yellowy gold. And then I did do a little bit of testing. So if you look there, you'll see over there, there's a bit of like scratching and stuff because I wanted to test its durability, and that I hit that with some actual sandpaper. So I got to say this stuff is fairly tough for like against scratches and things. So it's cool for like if you want to, I don't know, make a gold-plated hiss.
You have to airbrush that, right?
No, you don't. And that's the beauty of it. I'm actually glad that you asked. So how that stuff works is you want to essentially use an airbrush or a rattle can. So you want to spray whatever kit that you're going to put this stuff on. You kind of want to, I would suggest getting an acrylic spray paint. And actually just put out the cash for it. Get like a Vallejo spray paint or something. Prime your model, or prime whatever it is that you want to spray. Then spray it black with that spray paint, but be careful not to spray too much because you have to do this in you have a time limit with this stuff. And so what you want to do is you want to kind of spray a small section of it with the black spray paint, and then you want to get this gold powder on there, and I use a makeup brush to put it on there because I find that's the most effective, and it was actually the cheapest because I had one lying around the house. Yeah, as one does, you have makeup brushes lying around your house. Because I don't recall ever buying a makeup brush and don't recall ever using makeup. But anyway, I had one.
And, looking pretty.
Right? I mean, maybe I should start applying like a rouge.
Yeah.
Oh, no, dude. I don't want to put on lipstick. I don't want to outshine you guys.
Jim was looking for a lipstick tube.
Yeah, no, I remember that. Yeah, he says it for model building.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I need a lipstick tube and send me the lipstick as well.
Now, if you guys don't know, I was going to say, if you guys don't know,
Knickers lying around.
Not in my house. No, I have learned that if there are any things like that, and I'm sorry that this is maybe too much for this podcast, but you make sure you dispose of those things because one does not collect those things. Not that I ever did. God, I saw that on a movie. Once there was some guy that collected like all the girls that he's met. He's collected all of their
Yeah.
knickers. And I was with the girl at the time, and she's like, "That's so creepy." I'm like, "Yeah, it is."
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Where's me knickers?
but yeah, so back to this stuff. You apply it with like a soft brush or something, and you just sort of you don't have to be careful. You just smear it on. You just go for it, and then you sort of use another brush, like a paintbrush or something, just to brush it off. And then what I personally use is I use a latex glove, like a rubber surgical glove, and you just sort of like rub it in. And yeah, and you just let it. But you have to do it fairly quickly because the problem is it relies on the paint being somewhat tacky. So as soon as the paint like fully dries or cures, this stuff won't work. So you want to, yeah. So that's what you want to do. In this case, with this, I actually just put a clear coat over this spoon, an acrylic clear coat, and then I just hit the spoon with this gold stuff, and it actually came out pretty good for my tests. So anyway, so that's Armored Komodo. I believe these go for about $8. They're really tiny. To give you some perspective, this, ladies and gentlemen, is a lighter. I think we can all agree on that. Those Armored Komodos are about this big. The packaging is like, it's quite tiny. So,
Does a little bit go a long way?
Yes, it does. You definitely get bang for your buck. It's really, really, really awesome. It's great stuff. And the guys that sell it, they're an independent. It's not like they're some big model paint conglomerate or something. So if you're the kind of person who wants to support the little guy, then they're a great product for that. I love them because to try and achieve that coat with airbrushing is a skill. It's actually a skill-based thing. It's not something you can just fart out. And also, in my experience, a lot of the spray cans that do that effect, it's so harsh, the chemicals that they use to stabilize, to let stuff self-level, that it'll actually eat plastic. But that's been my experience. Your mileage may differ. But yeah, so this stuff has been great for me. And yeah, so that's what I've been busy on, as well as my it's called the Geong from Gundam. And
There it goes. Oh shit!
And it still works. Yes.
Mild heart attack later.
But I've been, yeah. So thankfully, this isn't painted. Oh my word, that would kill me.
Want to see Paul's makeup
meanwhile,
run?
Yeah. No, if it was armored with Komodo, you'd be okay.
I'd be okay. Yeah. So this thing is just it's basically like a giant skirt. It's so ugly. It's cool, and I was really excited. So I finally got this kit a while back, and I've gotten around to building it. And yeah, so the Armored Komodo, some of that is for this bad boy here. So more on that. I'll start showing you some progress. And I pulled out the Boba Fett to start cleaning up all of the nub marks. So I've started on my Boba Fett project. And Jim, I've seen some amazing stuff of yours on Instagram, on Facebook, on this Facebook group, on that Facebook group. Tell everybody what you've been doing, because it's been pretty amazing.
Yeah, last 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, couple of months. I've been focusing on Metal Gear, and so
Metal Gear.
It's right there on your picture.
That's him. That's one of them. Yeah, I've been doing 1 to 6 Snake figures. The first one I did was Naked Snake from Peace Walker, which is it's its own game, isn't it, Paul? Peace Walker.
It is, yeah. Naked
so.
Snakes from Peace Walker and Metal Gear Solid 3. So
in his Militaire Sans Frontières get-up. And then this figure that I just finished this week was Venom Snake from Metal Gear Solid 5.
Wow.
Sebastian's
I guess
cousin.
What?
Sebastian's cousin.
Yeah, people keep getting them mixed up. When I make Bloods, they think it's Snake, and when I make Snake, they think it's Blood.
Right?
But
I mean, what is it with people? You know? Damn it, get it right. You know, there's more than just one eye-patched, cranky old bearded character out there. Okay. Americans. I mean, there's Bart.
Eye patch.
Yeah. Okay. He hasn't got an eye patch yet. He's not wearing it. You know. The cybernetic eye seems to be working out well for him. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we're not showing you this right now, not just because of how we're broadcasting today, but because we're doing something crazy next month called March Gear Solid. Snake!
That name still works. Sort of.
Yeah, it's March Gear Solid because I wasn't very creative on the day that we came up with the idea, and I just like to name stuff. But that month we're gonna yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it'll catch on. It'll catch on. Like Radical, it'll catch on. And yeah, we're gonna focus purely on Metal Gear stuff next month, which is great because Metal Gear and GI Joe actually have quite a good, in my opinion, quite a good synergy. I feel like they could exist in each other's realities. So yeah, and it's actually Jim's idea. I think it's Jim's idea because he's been doing so much Metal Gear stuff that he's like, I want a Metal Gear episode.
Yeah,
So
right
yeah, so I got some cool, and that's probably why you've seen Bart posted an image the other day of a Solid Snake custom that he did, and so we've all been inspired by Jim and his Metal Gear madness, and so we're gonna try for 2 of these streams in March for Metal Gear because there's a lot to cover and there's a lot of cool stuff, and I'm a massive fan of Metal Gear. I would say almost as big as GI Joe. It's just so that's gonna be cool. And
don't you have another guest on there who is also a massive Metal Gear fan and expert on the lore, and also has the craziest collection of Metal Gear customs ever. You saw Luke's video, right?
I did. He has got. I mean, that guy's got more snakes than. I don't know if I can make that joke here.
All these Mickey snakes on this plane.
He's got more snakes than a reptile farm.
Good save.
Not a dirty joke anymore. Snakes are reptiles, right? Anyway, so stand by for that. The one good snake in actually there's also Cobra, but not Cobra from GI Joe. He's the other cool snake character in the world of pop culture and fiction. So, gentlemen, we are meant to be joined by Mark Webber today. We're just waiting for him to join us. So that could happen at any time today. And if it doesn't, I imagine it could be a technical issue. These things do happen, and sometimes scheduling issues do occur. So we're just waiting to hear back from him. But we promised you guys a live stream, so that's why we're here, Mark Webber or not. So I want to just take some time just to do a shout out to everybody that has sent us a comment. Matthew Comstock, once again, hey man. Landry Freak, hey again. Outback Stew, yay! Oh, and I believe it was your birthday the other day, wasn't it? So when he confirms that in the comments, I'll say happy birthday properly. Otherwise, I'm just not going to embarrass myself. Ryan Sweeney, welcome back. It is really cool to have Ryan Sweeney here today as well. Big supporter of the show, and it just makes this place awesome. It's always good to see your name there, dude. So welcome back. Once again, Bart. Oh wait, he's actually here. Gaz, hello Gaz, welcome back, dude. And of course, magnificent Kaboom. No jacket required. Cool, thank you, man. And okay, and then happy birthday, Stu, because this is a live stream, so rock and roll. 46.
Happy birthday, mate.
Wow, 46. Cool. That is very, very cool. And then of course,
very, very old.
I don't think so. When I had a girl today, and she was like talking, or one of my co-workers, and she was just saying, oh, this one guy, he does this and this. He's a really good designer. And I'm like, oh wow, what's his name? And she mentions his name, and I'm like, oh, that name sounds so familiar. And she's like, yeah, he's an old guy. He's like 40. I'm like, what? 40's not old. What the hell? 40 wasn't even old when I was a kid. 70 is old. Old is when you feel old, right? Anyway, let's not face our mortality right now.
I've started dyeing my beard.
Oh yeah, what
Yeah,
like gray, so that you can have that silver fox look.
oh, maybe I should. Maybe I should highlight it. Go the other way.
Yeah, don't cover it up, man. Like show that wizard age. I was in kung fu. I was in kung fu the other day, and I'm doing my push-ups because and the one guy goes, I can see you have a gray hair." I'm doing my push-ups, and I look at this dude. I'm like, "What?" And my instructor just sort of like gave him a light kick in the ribs, and he's like, "Why are you checking Paul out? Aren't your push-ups important?" So apparently I'm getting gray hairs, so that's fun.
You know what's sad
Stick
is
it on your ball bag.
yeah, or your chest. I just turned 46 in January. I've had gray hair since I was 18.
Yeah, but you come from Pittsburgh, dude. It makes sense. I mean, it's a high-stress living situation. Steeler over there. So, what was going to be an episode where we were going to hang out with Mark and get him into some of our shenanigans, is now turning into our shenanigans and what we've been getting up to. And so I want to bring up some G.I. Joe news, and I feel that we might bring this up on G.I. Joe Book, but not every G.I. Joe Book person listens to this podcast. But it's something I raised with the boys the other day. Guys, have you checked out those Mezco or that Mezco Destro?
Yeah.
I'll give you, if you guys don't know which one I'm talking about, he's like this.
Yeah. With ears.
With ears.
Could be described as a shit-eating grin, couldn't it?
It could be described as that. And now we've lost our advertising.
Oops.
I'm joking, dude. You can say shit-eating grin. If Michael Rosenbaum, the awesome Michael Rosenbaum, can say it on his podcast, we can say it on ours. On his live stream, should I say. Yeah, I don't know what to think. I actually kind of want you guys in the comments to just drop your opinions on it, because I'm very curious to hear what people say about it. Bart is giving it a distinct thumbs down. I am unfortunately on the fence, which I hate being. But to be fair, I did start off not liking it. So at least I know I'm old. Because I was like, take your Destro and get off my lawn. But then after a closer inspection...
Shit, boy.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a toy, that's a doll. And I looked at my sideshow Joes, and I was like, and I like dolls, but I need them to be bigger. And I was just being cantankerous, but it has a lot of winning qualities. I think to be fair, I don't like the Destro, but I can also objectively say I don't think it's a bad figure. I don't think it's a bad toy from the pictures that I've seen. I need to see more. I need to see that picture where they kind of have him standing like this. And then like this. Right now they got him in like, I am selling toys. I've got a cool pose.
You think the thing is nice enough to justify the cost?
You see, that's the one thing. From my research, and maybe I'm just blind or stupid, but I haven't seen what the price is. So I'm guessing based on the other Mezco stuff that has a similar weight, in terms of gear and whatever's, they're going to retail for anything between $90 and $100, which is when somebody says $90, I think my toy should be like that big. And when somebody says $100, I think it should be a little bit bigger with removable clothing, or like I can stick a figure in it or something. And then when somebody says it's going to be $140, then it can stay the same size, but then it better be damn good removable clothing and gear and all kinds of stuff. So like $100 for me is ouch. It's painful. I look at that and I'm like, that's money. And it's just because it's this Destro, I'm just not 100% sold. Maybe, and kudos to Mezco. They could have gone out the gate going, we've got another Snake Eyes. you know, because you know what you're missing in your collection is an abundance of new ninjas, right? So kudos to them for starting off with Destro. But I need to see a character that I love, and I love Destro, but I need to see a character I love more. With that
But
treatment,
it's
and I think
still that stable of characters that everybody churns out. I know it's not Snake
Yeah.
Eyes and
yeah,
Storm Shadow, but there's sort of 5 others that just constantly get churned out as well. It never really broaches outside of that little gated community of the same old fellas.
They should have went
yeah.
for
So
Stalker because that's a good base for countless customs. You know what I mean?
The
so
what, mate?
yeah, so
What's that, Jim?
What did you say, mate?
I said a Stalker would be good because that's a good base figure for a bunch of customs.
Yeah, and he doesn't,
That-
and he rarely gets done either. So yeah,
right.
good shout.
Well,
And a
right.
mainstay character
What
all the
that
way from issue
Destro,
1.
exactly. Yeah, old school.
So, and another thing about Stalker, I mean, my first sideshow GI Joe was the Red Ninja, because I saw that and I was blown away, because that managed to like tick 2 boxes for me. It was a GI Joe character, essentially. It's a Red Ninja, and it's a ninja that had like all of this cool ninja gear, you know, the weapons and the Ninja Joe, the clothing, all that stuff, and that was awesome. And I grabbed it, and believe it or not, back then when I grabbed it, it was $120. Okay, we're talking like, what is it, 2009, 2010, maybe around there, or maybe earlier, I'm not sure. But then I was like quite happy that was going to be the only sideshow figure in my life, and then I got the email to say that the pre-orders for Stalker were open. And Stalker's actually the straw that broke the camel's back for me on that stuff, because that Stalker was so cool, and it was so great to see a military style figure. Because before then, and I know that they had maybe done a Cobra Troop or something before then, but for some reason they didn't speak to me the way that Stalker did, with the gear and the gun and all of everything. And then as a knee-jerk reaction, I got myself the Beachhead leading up to the Stalker, because the Beachhead is also like military, and I love Beachhead. He's a cool character, and it also had all of that stuff, and I was just like hellishly intrigued. So I think when Mezco does an army man, and hopefully they do a cool character like Stalker that we haven't seen yet from any of the other toy lines right now, that might actually break me, because I might see that and go, whoa, I can't resist that, and then maybe get into that. So that's why I'm saying I'm on the fence. I can't say I'm like totally into it right now, you know?
I'm gonna pass
And
because for $100 for a Destro, that I'm gonna want to customize it from head to toe. That's just
Yeah.
too expensive because I don't like the paint job that's on it. If you put the alternate head on that's not smiling, I'm gonna want to
Yeah.
Molotov that and get it real shiny, and that's just a big expense for me to redo.
yeah, exactly. No, I get that, and I know that you love to custom stuff. I mean, very few toys into your house without getting some kind of paint or some kind of tweak on them. And I know where you're coming from with that, because you know, with a classified Joe, I mean, under normal circumstances, you can pick up a classified Joe for like $20, and if you don't like that Roadblock's beard isn't fully painted, you can do that yourself, you know, and it's not going to bug you. But I mean, if yeah, but anyway, I'm sort of getting into a quality issue here. Just a quick shout out, quickly, because it's worth doing here as well. Ryan Outback asked, "Are they making more GI Joes?" I can only assume so. Ryan Sweeney before that mentioned, "Not for me, not a Mezco fan." I totally hear you on that. My experience with Mezco, the first time I encountered them was when they did Living Dead dolls. Then Gaz reckons, Ryan's like, "Oh, that's the same price as a Viper." What? Sorry, that's the same price as a Viper on Evil Bay. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the ridiculousness of everything at the moment. Gaz is like Footloose, Alpine, Shockwave, or Mercer. Yeah, hell yes. On any of those characters would make me very happy. Like any of them. I love those characters. I think they're great. I especially love Mercer and Mercer Shockwave, and I really am getting into Alpine, seeing as I got a vintage one recently, and yeah, oh yeah. Anyway, Big shout out to Cujo. How's it, Cujo? He is hanging out in the
Joe.
comments, and
Hey,
he
baby.
says same. And he says same 5 characters because Joe was handed over to basic bees. Yeah, I get where he's coming from with that, and that is sort of half my criticism of Hasbro, and I think that's everybody's criticism of Hasbro at the moment. And then Matthew Comstock says, "Hey Cujo," because maybe Cujo missed it in the comments. Anyway, yeah, so that's my take on it. But I mean, Jim, you had a few things that you wanted to say there, and I think I walked over you.
You always walk over me, Paul.
High heels on.
Absolute asshole. I quite like that head, to be fair. I know, Bart, you absolutely despise it, but
Which
in a
one?
way,
The
it's
smiling one?
the smiling one, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's kind of a throwback to the cartoon, but putting on a realistic aesthetic to it. The idea of a movable face, but creating a more hyper-real visage. I quite like the thinking behind it, but I know I can understand why you don't like it. It does look like an
It's
angry,
meant to be a
bald
helmet.
football hooligan.
Go Man United!
Okay, go on, you've got to have it. He's a little bit like that.
He's Scottish.
Yeah, he is Scottish. Yeah, Hibernian.
Why
fan.
doesn't he come with like a Kyber or something? Big fucking log that he can flip.
Well, you can pick one of them up from your garden.
Yeah. I go into your backyard.
stick.
Give him a log. Give him a stick.
A log
Yeah.
at 1 to 12 is easy to find.
Yeah, I'll
Right?
put him in a skirt. He'll be all set.
And how cool is like Mezco for considering that? They were like, you know what, we were gonna put a big log on this box, but Joe fans, they're creative. We don't have to, So anyway, I am excited to it's also like I mean, we all have limited resources when it comes to like space and money and actually just effort when it comes to buying toys, honestly. And I'm excited to see that Mezco has taken on the Joe line, or has taken on some Joes. I'm excited to see that because that is cool. That is cool that somebody else is doing GI Joe stuff. Yay! It is also at the same time, if you're the kind of guy who wants to have everything, well, then I feel sorry for you because it's now another financial outlay for you. You now have to, and I know what that's like because, there was a time, a very good time when the exchange rate was so cool with the dollar where I was able to buy Sideshow toys and then in between the Sideshow releases get modern era stuff like Pursuit of Cobra and 50th anniversary or leading up to 50th anniversary. So that was really cool. But I mean, today, you got guys sculpting Vipers, like Ryan said, you got guys sculpting Vipers on the internet for like $80, and you're trying to collect classified, and now you're trying to collect retro, and now you're going to try and collect Mezco. And then there's these like really cool statues that I've been seeing popping up, these like cool animated style G.I. Joe statues. So now there's those. And then
3-0 stuff.
There's the 3-0 stuff. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, there's that. So there's like 5 things for you to like throw your money on. And I mean, I hope you like dog food is all I'm saying, because damn, that's a lot of money. So yeah. So so that's like a thing. So yeah, I think we have to like do that one thing that as collectors we really hate doing, and we really have to choose a lane. You have to be like, am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? Because I certainly cannot do that. And that is a bit of an annoying thing. Yeah.
Go down the route of some assembly required and make your own stuff, boys.
Make your own toys, yes. Yeah.
I was looking at the price of 1 to 6 Metal Gear Solid figures, and they are in nobody's price range. I made Venom Snake here for under 50 quid. All in.
Yeah. So dude, Metal Gear stuff, 1 to 6 scale stuff is tricky, hey, because that's quite a market, and that's a market that needs to mature more so that the pricing is better. I mean, right now that market has a very small contingent of people that do custom gear, so to speak. But then there's a large contingent of that's people that buy and strip Hot Toys figures, and they're like, you know, get all of the Batman Dark Knight Rises gear. You know, cool. Batarang, $8.
Exactly.
You know,
eBay is filled with single items from all the Hot Toys figures, isn't it? I've seen things like one glove, not even a pair, just one.
One glove.
I think it was actually Stalker's glove. It was like Stalker's left hand. It's like, okay.
And then and also sorry, it's just you're making me think of gloves now, but damn Sideshow, because near the end of the Sideshow line, they did Storm Shadow, Baroness, and they did a pretty cool Snake Eyes. Those were like sort of, and then they did a great Destro, which of course I missed on. But he would have had the same problem. But like Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes both have only one hand for holding a sword, which is their right hand. And they don't have like two sword holding hands, and they don't have two gun holding hands. So you kind of have to, you can't have like a pseudo classic Storm Shadow with both swords in his hand, because one of them is like a sword holding hand and the other one's kind of like, I'm kind of holding a sword. You know, that irritates me. And the problem is it's such a unique hand piece, and like there's no way you can like get like a right hand version of that. You have to go and find a new thing. So that irritates me. So that's one thing I hope Mezco does, because I'm not familiar with their toys really. So I hope they put a lot of hands and stuff in their boxes so that we can have that creativity to explore. Those of us that do take the plunge and buy Mezco because we're tired of looking around for classified.
Yeah.
Gaz says he wishes I wish I had got it into Sideshow Joe's earlier, but after I saw the Beachhead, I ended up with a Duke and Flint. Ironically,
that Flint's nice.
Yeah, actually, and I don't have those two. I don't have Destro, I don't have Duke, and I don't have Flint, and I don't have a blue Cobra Trooper. But save for that, I have the rest. Yeah, I know. I don't know
Crimson Guard.
That happened. Yes, I do. I do have the Crimson Guard.
Sick. Nice.
I used to have the rock and roll in my basket on eBay for it must have been about 3 years constantly.
That is one of my.
And it was probably around
toys.
sort of 50 and 60 quid back then, and I never pulled the trigger. I was like, it's a little bit expensive. I won't do it just now. I'll wait a month. And it's like, and now they've got probably closer to 150, 200.
Jeez.
I could have done that. I could have bought Destro. And I was like, no, I'm going to be responsible and use my money for other things like my phone bill. And yeah, now, you know, I still got a phone, right? But I don't have a Destro. I'm not saying that you have, you know, priorities. That's why I don't have it, because I was being a grown-up. And now I'm hoping that by making responsible decisions like that, I can be a very wealthy grown-up, which means that when I do eventually, when I can actually go and buy myself a Destro on the secondary market for like $800, you know, I can at least afford them and be like, my favorite silverhead Barbie is back in.
Hey, Paul, if you buy that house next door to me, I'll buy you a Destro.
I like that. What is it? $250,000?
$260,000.
Cool. All right. Okay. Well, yeah.
With one free creepy neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, free cretin neighbor. Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's on my vision board. It's right there above the sign in my house that says "Live, Laugh, Love, Dream." No, I really don't have that in my house. But I do have a vision board. I really do have one of those, and I encourage you, gentlemen, to have something like that, because people talk about bucket lists and stuff, and I believe that if you have a big list and, you know, sort of have a picture of your priorities, whether that be collecting priorities, life priorities, whatever, it's good to have stuff like that. But so I definitely have that, and I'm not ashamed of that.
First thing on my list. The first thing on my list is be like Jim Godfrey.
Yeah, me too. I also want to be like Jim Godfrey. Jim, if I had your powers, man, I'd walk into bars and I'd be like, "Hey, want a pint?" And they're like, "What?
See my 12-inch snake?"
Do you know
my solid snake?
Can I tell you about Solid Snake? He's a one-eyed soldier, and he's about this big. And we've lost the entire audience.
Bye.
Check, please.
Yeah. But like seriously, if I was Jim Godfrey, I'd use your powers for evil. I really would.
Make
wouldn't-
evil snakes.
Make evil snakes. Yes, exactly. So yeah. I'm just really happy that Jim has settled down. That he's married. He's because I would hate to compete against this man out there in the world. Although thankfully I'm also seem to be on the road of settling down, as it were.
Are.
I
You've
am.
been having
Yeah.
serious conversations, Paul, haven't you, behind the scenes?
Yeah, we've been
Yeah,
talking
dude.
about toy collections, what I'm going to do with the toy collection, is it allowed in the lounge? These big important issues that all couples, if at least one person in the relationship is a collector, these are important conversations to have.
What day she dusts the toy collection?
Oh no, that is off the table. I've been told that already. I've been told that like I can have it, but I got to dust it. So I'm like, okay. So
Seriously, when we bought a house, that was like one of the things is where am I going to put my Joe stuff? And if the house was too small, I was like, nope, next one. And the wife was all for it. She's like, no, you can't display your stuff here. I'm like, well, I can put some stuff in boxes or whatever. She's like, no. You have some nice stuff. It needs to be seen. I'm like, okay then.
No, exactly. Well played. Anyway, sorry, I've been hogging this all up. So yeah. So Jim, what's been getting you into Metal Gear? Why have you been so amped about Metal Gear? I mean, all of a sudden you were like, making dioramas and shit, and then all of a sudden Metal Gear. What happened? How did that happen?
I said to you before, I'm a bit of a hobby butterfly. I get I sort of float around and get really hooked on something for a while, and then flutter off and float onto another bit. I don't know. Metal Gear's. It's been something that I've always had on my. You must have a list as a customizer, right, Bart? You've always got figures you want to do. Right from when I started, yeah. Either Solid Snake or Big Boss, they've always been on there, and maybe I just found the right parts, and then suddenly it comes together.
Solid Snake and
like
Big
that,
Boss come together.
like that Bitterinder figure I was going to do, the 12-inch one, that transformed into the Naked Snake, didn't it? I used a lot of parts from that and just sort of rejigged it. And once I get into something, I'm on it.
Yeah, because I mean, you were like sort of flirting with that because you had Major Blood that you had done and it was really good. And then all of a sudden Metal Gear. So, and Bart, what is that?
Go on, Bart.
No, I didn't say nothing.
I thought Bart said something. No, I was gonna say I was about to ask Bart actually. You did another a really cool custom, and I'm sorry that I don't remember it now because I've been seeing a lot of stuff in our chats. But what is the other custom you did? You did a snake, and you're doing some cool stuff for MCDJ ACDC. And then
I have to check my Facebook.
Hey, that's how many customs Bart makes. Hey, that's a real life goal. Be as prolific that Bart is. So
I make 2 in 2 months, and Bart does. How many a day, Bart? How many you on a day now? 15 a day?
I could seriously do one a week if I sat down to it.
How's that? Hey, we mentioned MCDJ, ACDC, and look who pops up in the comments.
Oh, I did that statue of that weird Viking looking.
Oh, yes, the barbarian, the warrior dude. Very cool.
With the lightning bolt.
Yeah, that is actually very cool.
Oh,
I remember.
We're going to get you customizing some figures, Paul. This is ridiculous.
Yes, you will get me customizing figures. I was actually just about to interject and say, Jim's doing like maybe one or two, like he does one over like 2 months. Bart's doing all of the customizations in 1 month, and I am deftly planning and visualizing and imagining what it could be like to actually customize something. That's kind of currently where I'm at. It's
Is it
bad.
on your
see
mood board
the,
as well?
You saw the airtight I did too. I did that
Dude,
right
that
before
airtight is tight.
yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, yeah, actually, that is one thing because I'm still waiting for your parcels to arrive in the mail, guys. I went to the post
Ridiculous,
office.
isn't it?
It is so ridiculous, this country and parcels, dude. Like, it's crazy. And I spoke to the guy, and he said, "Listen, it's probably in the country. It's just in the mountain of stuff. And because of COVID, and because the postal service is, well, it's semi-private in this country, and because of that, they adhere to all these rules because of the pandemic. So they have minimal staff so that it can only do so much stuff. And to be fair, they weren't really efficient with a full complement of staff. So one can only imagine what they're like now with the skeleton crew. So it will get you. And when it does get you, it'll be exciting for me because I'll be like, wow, some assembly required, you know? So that'll be cool. So I'm very amped for that. But right now I'm going to try just to focus on what I can do, which is like working on the kits, and like I've got this Gundam that I'm busy on, and I've got that Boba Fett which I've started prepping and cleaning for the people in the show. And then because it's Metal Gear month next month, there is something Metal Gear related. So I kind of pulled that off the shelf too. Wonder what that could
yes.
be. Ooh, find out next month.
A cardboard box.
And
Answer
yeah,
me, Bart.
so
Bart.
fish and mailed. Anyway, so yeah, so we have to save all of that excitement for the next episode. Otherwise, we're gonna run out of Metal Gear Solid jokes. No, but yeah, so I'd rather focus on that because that's stuff I can get done, and I feel that that's better for our viewers, our dedicated and wonderful viewers who join us every time we do one of these things. We love you guys. Thank you. But yeah, I'd like to have something that's complete. Oh, and I do have Storm Shadow, and that's going to be a live stream hopefully next week. I'm going to do the final touches on that Storm Shadow so we can all do a watch Paul do it real time as he finishes off. Guys, you know, you never know with these things. It could be 15 minutes long or it could be an hour long live stream. But I'm not going to spend more than an hour finishing off Storm Shadow. So it's going to be the final touches. I've already
Sounds
spent...
like a fans only video.
Yeah.
Paul finishes off Storm Shadow
off
while a load of blokes sit around and watch.
You'll watch me dry brush. This is yeah. Cujo, Cujo just mentioned Fett. He was like, Fett, question mark, this emoji. I'm like, yeah, I got a model kit of Boba Fett that's been sitting in my cupboard for a very long time, waiting for that special
Boba
moment.
Fett.
That Boba Fett.
Fat Boba Fett from The Mandalorian.
No, not Jabba the Fett. Not like before then. Actually, no, that's wrong. That's fat shaming Bart. I won't have that on this show. I won't. But Boba Fett does. He could use a jog. Just to be fair. I shouldn't say stuff like that. Anyway, but no, it's Return of the Jedi Fett. So when when he's, some would say less useful. You know, what is that, Andrew? Can you see that, Andrew? Andrew, it's all good, man. I'm sorry that you did miss this. Well, miss bits of it, but we had you for a little. It was cool. It was cool. Yeah. So anyway, so there's, so at least I can focus on stuff that I can finish up, and that's important to me right now because the way work is, it's good for me to have things that I can start and finish. And I also want to get the art stream back up and running because that has been plagued by a few technical issues.
And part 3 to Jim's video.
Oh
That's
yeah.
also sitting there in the can. Yeah. It's dad body fit. There we go. You see, dad bods are cool. Dad bods are cool. I like that. Ryan, it's like he's saving us, man. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna get back onto all of those things. It's just been a
3D printed
whirlwind.
stuff, Paulie. When's that coming out?
Oh, that I'm going to keep mum about that until next month's episode. I actually had a conversation with Jared today about some of that stuff. And I also dropped a term with him. I'm going to say it here on the channel. But I dropped some stuff about Domskog.
Ja,
And
lekker.
lekker. So that's we're gonna see. So next month maybe there might be some surprises with that. I also get I was supposed to get prototypes from him this month, or this week actually. I've been waiting for prototypes for a while, but shame he only sent me pictures yesterday of no. When did I send you guys pictures? It was the other day. He sent me pictures of prototypes that he had printed for. It was a test print, and so now that those have come, it means the rest is coming. So that's good. That's just making sure that because 3D printing is apparently quite it's quite a pill. So yeah, so it's a thing. So the fact that the prints are coming out nicely and everything is a good thing. So yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully
those
we're gonna
images
see.
you showed us, there wasn't a lot of sort of. Had you started cleaning those up already, or was that sort of straight from him? No, really.
Straight from the printer. Sexy,
Wow,
hey?
so that is good. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
So that
a
was
lot
part
of
of the
3D printing
delay.
I've seen it is covered in sort of lines
The
and
lines,
Line.
yeah,
Yeah.
lines.
So
Bits of
yeah. Well, that was the discussion that we had because it was kind of like, okay, do we rush and get this jetpack out? For example, coming back to the jetpack, it's like, do we rush, get the jetpack out with the current technology that he has, or do we get a better 3D printer to actually do that jetpack justice to make better molds, and actually, because the thing is, whether we rushed it to get it out, we would still have to clean it and do all of that stuff, as you know. And then I might be deterred from wanting to make the backpack as interesting as I wanted to be, because then I'm going to be the one who has to like sit there and clean the prototype to send back for him to cast molds off. And or he's like, or do we make the investment? Do we get the better 3D printer, print out the better prototype, and just go at it from there? And that's kind of the decision that we've made. Is that let's get the better prototype. So we had to go through the process of selling the old 3D printer, ordering the new 3D printer, waiting for the new 3D printer to get here by the grace of the pandemic. And then it's finally here, and then we had to wait for the specialized resin, and then he has to get good and make sure it prints right. So it's been a process, and thankfully it hasn't been bad. It's just been a process. So yeah, so it's happening, which is cool. I'm also learning a whole bunch of skills I never had before. Before I started this, I can now take 3D photos, like proper 3D photos now. So that's pretty cool. That's something I didn't even know we used, and turns out we do. So,
Or you know it, Jim will be balls deep in snakeheads.
already am. And it's
I
not
was gonna say,
naked.
yeah.
I'm just
At
pop
least
them out now. Oh,
Just a shout out to White Vegeta. My power level is over 9,000. Is anybody else's? Hey, White Vegeta, glad to have you here, man. Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of what's happening. I'm sorry that this one has ended up being more of a state of the nation, but at the same time, we have been doing things, which is cool. We have been creative, and I think weren't we talking about doing some kind of competition, like some kind of contest? There was talks of that. I don't know if we should do it as a contest at first. I think maybe we should do a showcase. So I think maybe from the next episode we do 5 minutes where we showcase people's stuff, and I'm going to keep saying this until people actually send us pictures.
Hey, Paul.
And, yeah.
Mark's gonna jump on, so keep an eye out for him.
Cool. Awesome. So we still got Mark coming. This is good news. Excellent. Yay. I was really worried that like technical or life issues ate Mark up. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on our guest tab. Wow, this podcast, we might even turn this into 2 episodes. Can you imagine that? You know. Although then again, what's his face? And I quote Michael Rosenbaum again. Awesome guy.
I love that
Really
show.
been loving his. I've been loving his podcasts lately. His YouTube channel. It's called Inside of You.
Mhm.
It's great. I've really been enjoying that. If by chance he ever stumbles on ours, he's probably going to think, "Oh, this is a big load of crap." But Mike, we love you, man. So, you know, maybe he should be a future guest.
Yeah, good luck. He's probably expensive.
I'm sure he is. But we got Jim Godfrey. We just get Jim Godfrey to make the call. We get Jim Godfrey to make the call, and then we just get him to quote. We get Jim Godfrey to quote something from a Bryan Adams song or something. I don't know what those sound like, but apparently they sound romantic. I'm sure, like, Mike will be like, "Wow, I really love the effort put into this. I'm gonna get onto this.
You just
I'm gonna get
pimped me
inside
out.
No, we wouldn't pimp you out at all."
I'll have to shave my arsehole first.
At least bleach it.
Yes, definitely needs bleaching. I haven't done that for a couple of weeks.
Hold on,
that is-
Michael. Let me get this snake head out of my bum hole.
Wow, guys! Like, yeah, there were children that used to watch this show, but they don't
There's
anymore.
never been children watching this show. What are you on about? Come on.
We're all mental children.
Man babies watch this show. Hey, man babies.
Yeah, no, we are man children. Yeah, it's actually terrible, but we're good man children. We are responsible man children. Actually, same colleague today mentioned collecting toys, and she's like, she just, because it was just a conversation we were having in between, like, is this the right image for the app? Is this the right question for the app? And she's like toy people, and I mean, I get it, but she's like, people who collect toys, she's like, she just doesn't understand it, and she's like, it's so weird. And I went into the whole, like, my theories of it. I'm not going to go into that here, but blah blah blah, inner child, blah blah blah, toys are cool, blah blah blah. We were lucky to, most of us were born in the 80s. Some of you guys were born before the 80s, and so you were kids in the 80s, so you were privy to some of the best toys ever made. And that's just stuck with us, and now we're older, and the people who grew up with that are making cool toys, and went into that whole spiel. And then I also sort of mentioned, and then she's like, yeah, but she's like, she doesn't know, like, she's like, because she's sort of seeing somebody, she's like, she's in the scene, she's like dating and stuff, and she's like, I don't know if I could be with a guy that collects toys. And I'm like, dude, you know that a guy who collects toys, it's like 50-50, right? A guy that collects toys has either got his stuff sorted or doesn't. Because he's either got it sorted and he can afford toys on top of his lifestyle, or he doesn't and he's eating dog food. Either way, she will know pretty quickly, right? And she's like, I never thought of it that way. And then I was like, I never thought of it that way too. I got to get my shit together.
Yeah, as dog food dribbles down your chin.
Yeah.
Not with gravy.
That's not a tail you're wagging.
It's a solid snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that joke had to come out. I am keeping an eye open for Mark, Bart. I suspect that he's just going through the... Sorry, that's just the sound. It's just there's cats here, so I'm not sure if it's cats jumping on something or somebody breaking in. Either way, I'm ready for it.
The shotgun.
Get the shotgun,
Cuddles?
exactly.
Did you bring Cuddles with you?
I did bring Cuddles with me. Cuddles is here with me. Yeah. Cuddles is my accessory. With every full action figure, he comes with Cuddles. He's fighting stick. Yeah. So that's everybody in the comments probably going, oh, so Paul's crazy. Next time, ask her how many shoes or purses she owns. Ryan, I don't like to, I try my best not to generalize. So I never ask the purses question, but I do ask the shoes question. Sorry. It's terrible. I'm going home now.
You checking to see if they're your size.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, these are so sexy. What are these? Jimmy Choo. You know, I just
Paul's
know
got
that
amazing calves.
I do. Anyway, this podcast is going off the rails, or this live stream is going off the rails. Mark, where are you? Save us, Mark. Save us.
No, these are the rails it should be on.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, just the other day, and I know some of our Bergforce members can attest to this because they were audience members for our podcast, because we do podcasts now with a live studio audience, and that's for our patrons. And you know that it's cool because it's kind of becoming an interactive podcast, which is something I wanted the podcast to evolve into. And anyway, so Stephen was talking about how maybe we should be making this like more South African. Like he feels like G.I. Joburg is maybe not South African enough, you know? And I mean, like, it's not enough that we have these accents, but like, you know, every time I say something like brew or lekker or something, you know, which are like very South African words, Steve's always like, no, our international viewers don't know that. For those of you in the audience, it means this. And
Why even
yeah,
worry about
so,
that?
there you go.
Because I have our own language here in Pittsburgh, and I don't hold back. Like, you can piece it together even if you don't know what the word is. Oh,
Hey,
there's the
hey.
honcho.
Yeah, look at this guy.
Welcome to the madness, Mark.
Yeah, here's Mark, who apparently feels the need to make an entrance. My apologies, gentlemen.
No,
worries.
man, it's all good. This is the nature of
Bursting
the
through the
beast.
window an hour late.
Right on
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Right. He's a
I
wizard,
kind
man.
of-
This is when he meant to be here.
I see myself as a minute early on Weber Standard Time. So apparently you guys didn't set your clocks back.
There we go. Yeah, apparently we didn't.
It's a
Bart, I'm
brand
looking
new
at Bart. It's
international
Bart's fault.
timeline.
Man, I'm telling you. Normally
Yeah,
I'm
redhead
a
time.
very prompt individual, and today I'm all over the place. But glad to be here. Nice to see you.
Likewise.
Thanks for coming.
So
Pull up a
yeah,
chair.
so I'm Paul. You know me from, or you might know me, or might know my voice from G.I. Joburg. And then this is Jimmy next to me here. He's our correspondent from the UK. He's also a badass customizer. And
Hey,
then of course you know the giant cybernetic ball sack we call Bart Simon. And for the ladies and gentlemen out there, those fine gentlemen, but down here is Mark Weber, and welcome to Some Assembly Required. This will be part 2 of this live stream now.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Cool.
Nice to meet you, mate.
So, yeah. So I know that Bart knows you. I mean, I know you from What's on Your Mind. Just having listened to the show every now and then in the past. And I know you from seeing you on the G.I. Joe pages on Facebook and whatever. But Bart was like, I actually had a conversation with this gentleman for like 5 minutes at JoeCon. We're BFFs now. We should get him on the show. So, and Bart has been telling us about how like you're this big customizer.
Wow.
And that you like so that you love. But
I believe
no,
I
I'm
believe that's
kidding.
overstated, but I'll take it. We actually do a bit that we're about to bring back on What's on Joe Mind, and it's called Lazy Bastard Corner. And that's because I can't do anything that you would legitimately call a custom. I can get my little screwdriver out and take a Joe apart and mix them back together. And that was an absolute revelation to me as a kid, because most kids figured that out right away. Yeah, that you could pop that screw and most of the pieces were interchangeable and they were making their own Joes. And I think it might have been because I was in Joe from Jump, or at least the Real American Hero Joes. But I think it was near the end of year 3 when I finally realized that I could crack, not crack the back, but undo the back. They fall apart.
Open,
and then it was endless customization from that point.
Yep.
And for me, it was job 1 was I had a bunch of Cobra Troopers, and like every other kid, I had a couple with broken thumbs. And for me, if you broke your thumb, man, you drove the Jeep. or you shot the flak, or you you bumped Hawk off the MMS. No thumb meant no weapon, because I wouldn't even make you a lefty, right? You lost your thumb, you lost your privileges, and you were firing a cannon. And so I was able to take from my my troubled Cobra soldiers, I was able to bring a couple back from the dead and put them back on the front line, because you don't need thumbs to drive a Jeep, right? So I would take a poor guy with one good hand, right, and I would give him no good hands and put another guy back onto the battlefield. And so I loved resurrecting a couple of Cobra troopers, and then with the spare guys that I did have, I mean, by and large, I played with my guys pretty carefully. So I wasn't a firecracker and BB gun kind of G.I. Joe fan, like I think a lot of people were. But I made my own guys. I remember a Destro torso with a snake eyes head that was Black Mamba. And I typed up these terrible looking but correctly sized file cards for my own guys. And so that's what I'm doing now on What's on Joe Mind, here and there. And really as a kid that liked the more militarily realistic shows, I like taking guys that are really good characters like Psych Out, and going, you know what, that neon green vest just is not doing it for me. Even for a guy who's never going to be on the front lines, I like something a little more realistic. And so that's what I like doing on my lazy bastard corner on What's on Joe Mind, is finding a guy and just making him a little bit better. Even a guy who's way out there like Sci-Fi. If you replace the silver, literally moon boots on that guy and give him black boots, it still fits with what he's doing. And it just makes him as neon as he is. It just grounds him a little bit. And I like doing that. No offense to what, Ron Rudad and Kirk Mazigian did, because I was all in as a Joe collector as a kid. I still am, truly. But I like taking the Joes that were a little further on the edge and bringing them a little bit back to military. That's what I do. But to say I'm a customizer, I think that's a bit of a slap to the guys who actually do painting and sanding and some sculpting, right? The customizing community has just tremendous talent. And I think I kind of besmirch their good name by pretending I'm a portion of it, but it is no disrespect to them, and it's why we call it lazy bastard, because I'm not putting a whole lot of effort into it, but I like to think I'm creative within my own means.
Now, do you do any painting at all?
Say again?
Do you do any painting at all, or is it just like parts together?
Yeah, I think my painting is limited to a black Sharpie. And, the guy who had the bill of his cap rubbed off, right? I could fix that. But I got one shade of black, and that's pretty much it. So maybe I'll get there eventually. I like to think that maybe I have aspirations of shedding the yoke of my own ineptitude at some point. But for now, it's really it's a boy. It's a tragic tale. It's a boy and a screwdriver and a black Sharpie pen, and those are pretty much the weapons I can handle.
Hey, I think that's great. But I mean, Steven, from the co-host on G.I. Joe Book, he's recently found the magic of the silver Sharpie marker, and he's been using that to do touch-ups on all kinds of G.I. Joe toys here and there and whatever. And it shows you don't have to be this master class. It's not like it's not a mountain. There's no customizing mountain. It's just you do what you need to do, to make yourself happy, And I think that's a good thing. And I mean, that was actually a very good answer to that question, Mark. I mean, I was like, wow, because I mean, just something as simple as a Sharpie marker, just something as simple as like, taking stuff apart and making Lazy Boy customs. I mean, that was my thing as well when I was a kid. I would say a good portion of my G.I. Joe collection, my childhood G.I. Joe collection, went to that. And then a lot of them were still intact, and then, friends' houses and things like that. And yeah, my buddy and I, we made a huge collection of like just super fighting warriors. I've said this before on the show, but we used to make these, like, we were big into like the Dragon Ball Z thing and Saint Seiya and stuff. But we were in South Africa, so this was all stuff and then he's Chinese, so he brought that all over, and that influenced me, and then that in turn influenced him. So when we got bored of the military aspect and we found out we could take these things apart, we were turning them to like super powerful warriors that shoot beams out of their hands and whatever. And when paint got involved, that's when it got mad. So
Right.
I'm glad that I made it. But yeah, that's really, really cool. So right now, I'm curious, and just because we're getting to know each other as well, what is your favorite thing about GI Joe at the moment? I mean, I know that we're mostly about customizing here, but I'm always curious about what makes people love GI Joe. What is your
Right.
favorite thing about GI Joe or GI Joe at the moment?
I mean, for right now, I mean, you
Yeah.
have to love what they're doing with the classified line. I mean, it's really something for me to see it at retail and doing as well as it is, and it's really hard to find at retail here in the States,
Yeah,
and
you gotta
so
fix that.
and that's not a dig on the Target stuff and some of
No.
the stuff that's just been impossible to find, but I mean, it has been really hard for people to find, just the basic stuff at retail. So I think most fans are pre-ordering it here and there, or they have their ways to get it. And what I'm hopeful for, because I'm a fan of the brand, I always have been. And so it's great that it's selling so well that they literally can't keep them on the pegs. But to grow any franchise, you've got to be able to reach youth. And even though there's nothing behind it right now, there is a movie coming. There's rumors today about a Lady J standalone live action
I thought that,
series, right? That might be coming out. So it feels like they are activating the brand, and the pandemic has done them no favors. But it's better to sell, it's better to be sold out than to have them sitting there next to the Ghostbusters figures, right? That anybody can buy 1 million of if they want. But
they sit there long enough, they end up in Ross, and then I get them at half price.
yeah, see, there
I was
you
gonna
go.
say I'm kind of happy about the Ghostbusters figures dropping in price because they're starting to appeal to me. Like like $20, I was like, $12.
Right. Yeah. And I think we're there with some brands that are on the fringe. And what I've always felt about Ghostbusters is everybody likes it, right? Who doesn't like Ghostbusters? But it's almost nobody's favorite property, right? There's nobody who's Ghostbusters 1 and then, Transformers 2 and Dragon Ball Z 3, or, all the other properties have a diehard fan base where it's their number one thing. But for Ghostbusters, it's sort of universally popular, but nobody's favorite. And I think that's what they kind of were running into. And so when you get into with collectors, the idea that, well, when they hit Ross, I'll pick them up, or when they're half price, then it's maybe for me. There's nothing wrong with that. You're just being honest with yourself. At least you're supporting it at some level. But from a retailer perspective, that's a failure. Right? A brand that will only get picked up, not only, but will only sell out once the price is cut. So whether that's overproduction, or just misplanning, it's hard to say. But Joe is the opposite right now. I mean, you cannot find it at retail, and that's good on one level. But on the other level, there's no kid walking by and seeing Destro's shiny head glint off of the peg and going, "Whoa, what's that?" So and without any entertainment pushing it right now, and I realize a lot of that's not their fault. The Snake Eyes movie should have been out by now, but the pandemic had its own plans. But no, there's nothing to connect it to kids and another fan base if it's not actually on the shelf. And I think that's unfortunate. And that's not a finger point at Hasbro. That's just kind of collateral damage, especially in the last year when toy sales are up, right? It's been a good year to be a toy company. Yeah.
Hard to find stuff.
And unfortunately, they have not been able to take control of that. And I give them a lot of credit for patching whatever holes they had in their overall plan, because obviously they were planning for Snake Eyes movie product to be out last fall to coincide with the movie. And so the movie getting pushed out, they were able to, patch over that hole in their release plans and done quite a good job. but they underestimated the demand for their own product. And so it's better than the opposite, but it hasn't let them reach out and connect with that youth. And that's key to build any kind of growth in a property.
So I want to add something there, and before I do, let me just get into the comments quickly. There's a few guys that are just saying hello. So I've got Ryan Sweeney just said Honcho. White Vegeta also said greetings, Honcho. Gaz says hello, Mark. Bart is being Bart's trolling, guys. Bart's trolling the comments again. Oh, he's here. Magnificent Kaboom says Mr. Potato Head is now gender non-binary, just Potato Head. Yeah, okay. I know where you're coming from with that. Gaz is smiling faces. White Vegeta says He-Man is going on Netflix, and that's the route G.I. Joe needs to go. I'm of course paraphrasing the sentence a bit. Yeah, and that actually ties into what I kind of want to say now. I think we give Hasbro a lot of flack. I know I give Hasbro a lot of flack when I feel they deserve it, and I try to be fair by praising them when I think that they've done something really awesome. For example, the repaints, the running changes on the first wave of classified figures. You know, they have got their, and I'm pardon the pun here, but their finger on the pulse. Okay. Fans. So they know that the fans didn't love the gold trim and some of the colors, so they've changed that up, and that's a good thing, and it proves to me that they're listening. But I think, and to be a devil's advocate here, there's a silver lining as well. Like, you know, G.I. Joes are sold out. Classified G.I. Joes are sold out. We're complaining about scalpers selling these things for $80 online. These are all irritations. But at the same time, we're not moaning about Hasbro quitting on the brand. We're not sitting here going, oh, well, Hasbro is going to quit on the brand because they just released a blue hit and run or whatever. You know, it's like, it's in a good place. Like, they're really taking the brand seriously. They are trying not to take risks with it, but they are being ambitious with it, in the sense that we're getting classified figures. I mean, Mezco, we were talking earlier here on the show about the new Mezco line, which means, you know, they're fishing out this license to different guys, or they're allowing different guys to like do different things with the license, maybe to appeal to different layers of collectors. And so I really do feel that we are going to get to a stage where we are going to have a lot of them, and the kids are going to be able to appreciate them. But then to go with what Vegeta's saying here, with what He-Man, Netflix, that kind of thing, I think the Transformers series on Netflix, for me, has really gotten quite good. And I would love to see something like that happen for G.I. Joe. And I think streaming services are going to help a brand like G.I. Joe quite a lot. And of course, the Fortnite thing, I feel, helps it. I mean, I've had a few friends now go, hey, Paul, Snake Eyes is in Fortnite now. And they're all gamers, and they know nothing about G.I. Joe except for the fact that I like it. So now they're experiencing Snake Eyes. So there's a lot of that cool stuff. So I'm loving that the brand has got a bit of a renaissance. There's a bit of a renaissance in the G.I. Joe brand, growing a little bit, which is quite exciting. But yeah, anyway, that was just my thought. And yeah, Jim, Bart, anything you guys want to jump in there with Mark?
Do you customize anything modern, or is it all just O-ring?
It's all been O-ring so far because that's the easiest thing to disassemble and reassemble.
I agree.
So I want to get, and I'll need somebody's help with paint. The one thing with classified that just rankled me to no end as a redhead is Scarlet having two-tone hair, right? Like, why would you ruin what is the perfect and superior hair color by coloring a little portion of it not red? So the first one I actually got from the Pulse, and it had a crack right in the neck seam, and you could see it without even opening the package. And by and large, the classified figures have been pretty good. A little bit of some torso, the opposite of, well, looseness, I guess, on some of the Snake Eyes figures early on. But one thing Hasbro doesn't get enough credit for is their amazing customer service. And so I reached out to him right away and sent a picture and said, look, my Scarlet's kind of jacked up. You can see it right here. And they just sent me a new one. They just went, okay, here's a new one on the way. They didn't want the old one. They're not going to fix it, right? Yeah. They don't want to deal with it. I showed them the
Cool.
image, and I'm sure they run it through, a database. Has this guy reached out to us before? I don't think you could pull this off 100 times in a row, but or maybe they went, oh man, it's that Weber guy. Just get him out of here. But
You got your face with the big slash Ghostbusters symbol on it. Oh no!
yeah, I'm
Too
sure.
sexy. Too sexy.
Yeah, right.
It's next to the picture of my face. Don't give this guy free stuff.
Right. I'm sure there's photos around there. Have you seen this wizard? And that's me.
Make him happy. He needs to go away.
Right. Just deal with it, man. Get out. But no. In all seriousness, they sent me a new one, and that was great because now I have an extra Scarlet head that somebody's going to fix for me for $20 out there. I'm sure. Just paint it all red for me, and then I can move that head around as needed. So maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll go aggressive with it and have somebody change the overall redness of her hair. But by and large, I love that Scarlet figure, particularly because they got the freckles right, and I have a little freckles. Right, and I have a little experience on this topic, right? So freckles are hard to pull off, right? If you're actually going to go there, you got to be careful that they don't look like measles or chicken pox, and they did it so well. And I don't know that anybody's done freckles on Scarlet before. So it's just so hard to pull off it's an extra paint hit. And on a smaller figure, it's hard to get them small enough, right?
Yeah.
So but they
actually
6-inch figure.
So yeah.
Oh, they just nailed it. So I'm going to get somebody with actual, for a fee, of course. And then
a little bit of talent. You send it to me, I'll do it for free.
Hey, I dig
Bart
it.
painted a toy once, and I gotta say, Jim has also painted a toy. He did like that dude he did like a Metal Gear Solid thing. Listen, it's not bad.
Right.
His mom says it's cool, and I think it's cool, so he's pretty good at painting.
So it was a semi-solid snake. That's what we're talking about? A kind of solid snake?
Yeah.
It's always semi-solid, yeah.
Hey now. All of a sudden we're PG-13.
Yeah, that some assembly required, unfortunately, is a little PG-13. But that depends on how much Bart's had to drink. But generally stays at about PG-13.
I assume
rated about half an hour.
Like halfway.
Right. When the Guinness gets down to timber, then we know we're in trouble.
Yeah.
There's whiskey in there too.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, it's Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's on it again. So okay, cool. So you're digging the classified line, and that's cool. That's actually refreshing to hear because, I'm kind of in the trenches where, on one hand, I mean, I got Steven who recently got a classified Snake Eyes, and he really digs it. He thinks it's a great toy, and it's a great for him, it's a great example of the classified line. It's not converting him. He's not like going to go and buy them all or anything. Then on the other hand, I've got a handful, and then a lot of our supporters and commenters and viewers on the channel, a lot of them have the classified figures and they're really enjoying it. But then when I go into Facebook, I'm just hearing all the negativity, and it's really nice to hear that you're big into it. I mean, I actually don't mind an opinion which way. If you said you hated it, I would also be like, it's cool to hear that. Like either way, it's just an educated opinion. I dig it.
I got
Bart's showing this again.
Yeah. I love the fix there because really the only thing wrong with that roadblock was the shiny and the gun. The gun needed help. It just I don't mind.
The Electro roadblock has lipstick on.
Yeah, that's true too. I don't mind them being a little sci-fi. I mean, it's obvious they're trying to avoid the firearm aspect of it. But Joe always lived 5 years in the future, right? That was how it always was. So I don't have a problem with Roadblock not coming with a Modus. I just didn't like the sci-fi weapon they gave him, right? It was if it had an actual barrel, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot better. So that seems to be what everyone's doing with Roadblock is finding him a better weapon, and it fixes that toy pretty quick. I was going to throw in there when I first started in toys. I worked at McFarlane Toys out in Arizona, and they were this was like 2002. And they really grabbed the internet with two hands. That's where they were going to do their marketing. And they didn't spend a lot of money on marketing. So this is 2002, and the internet as a whole is kind of new, right? We're a year away from MySpace, if you want to rewind that far back, right? So they had their own message boards on their own company homepage. And if you think about how aggressive and maybe ludicrous that is now, because you know how negative the internet skews everywhere. It's not a toy thing. It's not a Joe thing. There's country music boards where all they do is rag on country music singers, right? There's baking boards where all they do is rip apart the latest King Arthur flour release. Like, it's just the net. But we didn't know that so much in 2002. So it became a brand management role, but it was really more of a marketing and company evangelist kind of role, where I was bringing info out to the message boards every day because we wanted people coming back to the website every day. And so we also did like 4 or 5 shows a year, San Diego Comic-Con. I was making sports figures based on real pro athletes. So we would follow around the baseball All-Star game and the Super Bowl. And it was great because those changed cities every year. So it got us into new markets, and we would make special figures for that home market every year. But what I found was, after I'd been on the boards for about a year or so, people would come up to me at shows, and I'm a 6'2" redhead, right? So and just as pale as you can possibly be. So when I say I stand out, it isn't because of my chiseled chest line or giant muscles. It's just 6'2" and mainly white with red on top. Like, hard to miss that guy. So people would see me at the McFarlane booth, and they would go, "Hey, Webb." And I go, "Well, you got to know me from the boards, right? Nobody would know me otherwise." And I say, "Hey, are you on the message boards?" And a few people would be like, "Yeah, I'm, laser attack 22." And I knew them well enough. I knew the boards. I was on them all day. That I go, "Oh yeah, you're the guy with the, with the aliens avatar." And he'd be like, "Oh wow, you really know who I am," in an internet sort of way. But that was really
I get that. Yeah,
it was really the minority. What I heard from almost anybody, like 80% of the time, the conversation was, "Hey, Webb," and I go, "Hey, how you doing? Do you know me from the site?" And they would say, "Absolutely. I read every day, but I never post. Those guys are animals." And that was, and when I realized that, I realized that the people who are actually partaking in the net, not I don't say the net, but at least the boards, they don't post a whole lot, right? They are the silent majority. And so because I was playing defense every day, when we started going to shows, it actually was a nice sanity check for me to go, you know what? By and large, most of the people here like what we're doing. And I think that's true of everybody. You don't go to sites for things you hate, right? Like I don't like eggnog, right? I just don't like it. So I don't go to eggnog sites and go, "Man, eggnog's garbage." What's the point, right? It's if you're disappointed in something you like, if your favorite band's new album stinks, you might say that. Or if you're the toy line you like comes out and it's brittle and breaks really easily, you'll voice that opinion. But what I found was the feedback online was the guys, if you were grading whatever you were talking about, if you gave an A+, if they hit it out of the park and you love it, you'll post about that. And if it's disappointing to you at all, if it's C- or below, you'll post about that. But nobody ever posts and goes, "It's about what I expected from this line. I'll pick up a few of them. Peace out," right? That's a boring post. Nobody makes that. Or, "Pretty good. I'll get a couple." Nobody posts that. So, of course, the internet skews negative because you only get phenomenally happy people posting or all the disappointed people. And so that's what I always, and it seems to be truer and truer as time has gone on, that I always try to remember that when I'm reading feedback about anything online, whether I had a hand in it or not, is man, that silent majority is big, and they're just what I said they were. They're silent. They don't post. So that helped me keep my sanity during 10 years at McFarlane Toys.
Okay.
Did you have a big interaction with him?
With who? With Todd?
Yeah. Did he ever come down and be like, "Hey, this is what we need to do," or?
Todd was a great guy, by the way, very quirky, like most artists are, I think.
I'm a big fan of him. Yeah.
He's a great guy, and he's an unbelievable talent. Always good to me. And Todd did not micromanage. Like, he wasn't over your shoulder. He didn't just show up in his big red cape, right, and his chains or anything,
Chains.
right? But he was always in the office, always there, and he never fully let go of anything. So he had his finger in the pie, so to speak, of everything that went on for sales, for marketing, for advertising, for production, for finance. Every bit of it, he had at least a little bit of control. I mean, he controlled everything. It was his company, was privately held, so nobody told him what he needed to do. So it was a very interesting mix where he didn't overmanage, but he also never fully let go of anything. So
ask him why he got fired from G.I. Joe.
he talked about it once. I actually had him sign that issue. I brought in the
60.
I forget what number it is, but it's that Zanzibar
60
on the cover, right?
And Hawk.
They just picked apart his pencils, right? And Todd is famous for, I don't want to say overdrawing, but he loves to get into the detail, right? The squiggly lines in the back, and that's what made him a star. And they just did not like that style. And remember, I don't say he was nobody, right? But he was not a big deal back then. So they tore up his stuff. And that's why he was only on there for, an issue, barely. But he never, Todd's a guy who kept all his rejection letters, right? I think it says he has over 1,800 rejection letters, and he just used them as fuel. So, he doesn't mind getting kicked off of G.I. Joe because it got him to Spider-Man quicker, and Spider-Man got him to Spawn, and Spawn got him to his own company and his own, empire is maybe a big word, but nobody's told Todd McFarlane what to do since 1993, 4 maybe. So, talk about a success story. So I have nothing but good things to say about Todd. Loved working there. And only left because the opportunity opened at Hasbro. And when I left McFarlane Toys, it was too good an opportunity not to take. And I just went to him and said, Todd, I've got this amazing opportunity to work on Transformers. So my family's going to go. We're going to move. I'm going to take their offer and move to Rhode Island. But I told them that I could not arrive until I had handed off this position in a way that you're comfortable with. And he said, Webb, absolutely, I've loved what you've done here, and I wish you the best, and I appreciate that you'll work with us to get the transition going. And that's what it did. It took a little more than 2 weeks to get the new guy in, and I worked with him and then stayed in contact with him and answered any questions he had over the next 4-6 weeks till he was 100% good to go. So I still have really good relations with everybody who's still there. It's been a while. But when I go back, I can walk in and ring the bell and they let me in and we chat. So I'm a big fan of leaving well everywhere. And I've had some experience lately, but there's no upside to leaving poorly. So I've always made sure to leave well when I'm packing the bags.
Oh, that's cool.
I'd sprinkle some gas on the way out, but I'm not going to light that match.
Right. I like to, there's just no point in it, because even if you've been a model citizen, that's the last impression you're going to leave. And if you leave bitter, you're going to be remembered, not, I would say poorly, but it'll be easier to forget the really good work that you did if you leave, salt in the background or smoke coming out of your office. So that's some life advice that I got and that I've always followed, and I think it's important.
So when you were so if you don't mind my asking, because I'm like, now you've piqued my interest. You mentioned like working with McFarlane. That's really cool. For me, McFarlane is quite an inspiration, like a big influence for me. I loved. I remember when I was in a Toys R Us here in South Africa. Spawn comics had been sort of coming out, and then I remember seeing that first Todd Toys Spawn and Medieval Spawn, and I think it was the Violator in a Toys R Us. And they really stood out from other toys because I mean, I went there to go and get a Batman figure, and I walked out with a Spawn figure because I was like, "Oh wow, all my friends are gonna be so jealous because this is like gonna be the badass toy, the most badass toy ever." And it's just cool how that evolved because I mean, G.I. Joe was already like for me, and in a lot of ways, is still I think the best toy ever made, bar none. But McFarlane started answering questions with these toys. I was asking, but I was wondering if anybody would ever answer that. And there was this like edge to his stuff. And as he's like progressed and being in comic book stores and whatever's as a kid growing up, I'd always seen his stuff and tracked his career and whatever's. And I'm very curious, like what waves? I mean, where were you working when you were working for McFarlane? I mean, you said 2002. So are we looking at like the movie masterpieces that had just like happened, or are we looking at like a little bit past that when the Spawn covers were coming out? You remember they did those beautiful 3D renditions of the Spawn covers, the jumping Spawn.
That was some of my favorite stuff of my work there. Was that I was mainly in charge. I was in charge of their sports picks line. So that was their like 7-inch tall baseball, hockey, football, basketball. I was originally my degree is in broadcasting. So I was a producer and the update guy on the radio for a bunch of years. But they were looking for the position I got was labeled sports journalist. And that's the only reason it came up on my search was it was advertised as more of a media position. So I was looking for work and had gone to school in Arizona. That's where I met my wife. And we were looking to move back from Washington, D.C. So that's how I found it. But I was really working on their sports picks figure. But you aren't compartmentalized there. So you're allowed to work on other brands and help and assist. So even though I did sports picks for a decade, I got to assist on their military line and on their Dragons line and a little bit on Spawn, a little bit on Halo, a little bit on Walking Dead. So, you know, a guy who knows toy is an asset. And the brand managers there were cool and they were not possessive, right? Like when I was running, I was the sports guy, but that didn't mean I wouldn't solicit opinions from other people. Or my buddy John Goff was a huge basketball fan. He was running the Spawn line. But Goff would see an amazing dunk the night before and come in the next day and say, "Oh my God, did you see Sean Marion's dunk in the Suns game?" And, you know, maybe I hadn't. And then he would direct me to it. And I go, well, there's our pose, right, for our figure. And by the same token, as a big fan of The Walking Dead, you know, I would see something from the show or something from the comics because they were making both comic-based and AMC-based figures. So I got to touch on that. And I'm really glad you brought up the comic covers line of Spawn, because I got a figure made in that I absolutely love. One of my first jobs there when I first arrived, Todd was involved in the lawsuit with Tony Twist, the former NHL player, for naming a villain Tony Twistelli in his comic, right? And it was a ridiculous lawsuit, but one they lost and had to appeal. So one of my first things I got to do was go through every issue of Spawn and write down every mention or image of that character, because they needed a full, you know, lineup basically. So they could say, you know what, this character only appeared in 27 total panels. Right? He was only mentioned 14 total times by name. So they needed that thorough accounting of it. So I had read every issue of Spawn over like a 10-day period. So I knew who Spawn was. I'm a comic book fan, but I had never subscribed to it. So to be able to binge read 140 issues of Spawn over 10 days got me up to speed pretty quick. So a year and a half or so later, they wanted to do comic covers. And I said, well, I know the one. I know the one you have to do. And it wasn't the one everyone was expecting. It's in the 70s, I think. There's a really good one where Spawn is facing you mask off, and he's kind of squatted down with his arms out. And the cape, which is normally so billowy and all over the place, is pulled really tightly behind his back. And so it was counter to what you think of when you think of a Spawn cover. You think of him flying, arms outstretched, and cape and chains everywhere. And this was him just pulled in, just screaming at the camera, as it were. And I thought it was so good because it was so counter to what he's normally like, right? It'd be like a Punisher cover with Frank Castle just sitting quietly in a chair looking like he's focused on something, right? Like Frank's supposed to have 8 guns and 8 billion shell casings flying around. But when you go counter, that's pretty cool. So I love that cover, and Todd agreed, and they made that figure. So maybe it's 85. I forget the number, but you can find it pretty easily. And it was just Spawn with the cape super tight. He's kind of squatting down with the hands in close, and he's just screaming at the camera, as it were. And I just thought it was amazing. I was really pleased that Todd agreed, and it became one of 6 or 7 figures in that lineup.
Did he give you one?
Yeah, one of the cool things at McFarlane Toys, one of the best perks was 24 free toys a year.
Oh.
That was it. And there were plenty of people there who weren't toy people, right? They were just a guy in finance who was great at finance, and toys, meh. So I was always beg, borrowing, and stealing from other guys, right? Like, hey, Al, I'll take you.
You're a toy guy.
I was a toy guy. Toy wasn't enough. And of course, once I had all my friends wanted, their stuff, and I was working on sports stuff. So as a Yankee fan, I still needed Red Sox figures for my Red Sox fan buddies. So, I can't just say, no, I can't get that for you. I work at the company. I should be able to get that for them. So I was well known as a guy who would beg, borrow, and steal anybody if they weren't used.
So, wow, that's pretty cool. Because I mean, like for me at that time, I was working at my friend's store, Anime Works, which we had set up, and we were. I mean, I remember we were just selling Spawn figures like hand over fist. It was just people were coming in and they were just buying cases. They would buy like a case of the comic covers. They'd buy a case of the military stuff. Did so well because so many guys here in South Africa really love the military stuff, and to get military figures that had that level of detail, people lost their minds. I mean, I remember we were just selling cases of this stuff, and it would be like, we'd get these pre-orders in, and then it kind of links in what you were saying with earlier, where you're on a community, you're on a board. We used to have a board for the shop as well, for Anime Works. In fact, there is still one now. It's just evolved into different things now. But back then, customers would come in and I wouldn't even know their real name. I would know them by their handle. So it'd be like Dark Prince and, Squishy Head. And like, these are real people. But then when they would phone, they would like give their real name when they would place orders. So they would come in and I'd be like, oh, Dark Prince, what's up, man? He's like, yeah, I'm here to pick up a case of Spawn. I'd be like, oh, no problem, man. Whatever. It's going to the back, check out, the pre-list. And I'm like, I'm not seeing Dark Prince. No, nothing. And I'm like, oh, it takes like a Dark Prince is here. And he's like, yeah, man, it's the other Paul. I'm like, right. Oh, okay, cool. So I totally get what you mean by like, you have that connection with the people on your forums and the people that are with you. And it's just fun how like, I mean, that was when I was working in retail, and that was such a great time, at least for me. That was just an awesome time being somebody that was slinging toys at people.
Yeah.
But anyway,
there's still guys that I was friendly with on the board who are Facebook friends now. And one of them is named Eugene, right? But he was Voodoo Child on the board. And when he and I trade messages, it's always, hey, what's up, Voodoo? Right? Like, he'll never be Eugene to me because he was always Voodoo. So.
Yeah. No, it's a weird thing. It's like, it's something that's, I kind of like, when I mention it to other people, they're like, you're so 90s, with that, like it's so hacker handle, but like, whatever. It was a cool time.
Absolutely.
Mark, seeing as you know a lot about this stuff and a lot about, I mean, you're not a customizer per se, but you actually understand a lot of things about the toy making process. Because I'm sure you've witnessed it. I'm sure you've seen like it go from either being sculpted or being like modeled maybe in 3D on CAD or something like that, and
Mhm.
then brought out into molds and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure a lot of guys that watch this are actually very curious about how some of these things are actually made. And do you have any like cool stories about any of the guys, the model painters, prototype painters, like the kind of stuff that they did? Do you have any knowledge about that maybe you're allowed to share that wasn't too top secret?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of it is top secret because it's all. I mean, any level of it is like magic to me, right? For a guy who is creative but not artistic, right? So I always had nothing but mad respect for the designers, and from McFarlane all the way up through Hasbro, it's as a marketer or a brand manager, frequently that relationship with the designers is cats and dogs, right? The designers want to be left alone as much as possible so they can make their toy because they're incredibly creative and also artistic. So not only can they think of it, but they can make it happen. And usually they are trying to do the best they can with whatever constraints are put on them by the marketing team. Like, well, it has to be, this tall, and it can't weigh more than this, and it can only have this articulation, and you only get this many paint hits, and so it is shackling on some level. But if a toy is over sculpted or not overproduced, but if you go nuts, if there were no parameters to work within, it would be too expensive and it wouldn't make money. So
Exactly.
it
And
is
it'll never get finished. Let's be fair.
right.
I mean,
That's
if you tell an artist he has no restrictions, he'll never finish it.
That's it. They say that's one of the greatest lessons an artist can learn is the difference between finished and done, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just got to be done. It may never be finished, but you're done. It's got to go. So, but I always had a really good relationship with my designers because I think I was a designer at heart, and I like to work with them and say, look, this is what we have. To work with. This is the amount of time we have. This is the amount of paint hits I can give you. And here are my ideas. And then we would talk about what was reasonable, what wasn't, what they think was good but needed a twist. And I always gave them a ton of respect, treated them as though they were a different company. And that's sort of how I treated any different department, right? Pretending like that's a totally different company and I need to be incredibly respectful and not assume I know what they have to do. Let them tell me. And so at McFarlane Toys, the design group was in New Jersey. And so I would deal with them over the phone or over email, but actually got to visit a couple times. And this is, early 2000s. And they pretty much took a photo. I was doing this. So it was usually a photo of the athlete, or sometimes a different athlete, but we really liked the pose. And they would just take clay and, a flame and an X-Acto knife, pretty much, and just go to town. And it was just, it looked like a big chunk of like pink Velveeta just sitting there. And they'd go, cool, I'm going to make Derek Jeter. And they would do it over time, right? And then it would get sent to Todd, photos and turnarounds of it. And Todd's such an amazing artist and athlete too, especially as a baseball player. So he would point out stuff like, you know what, I don't see any tricep here at all. Or, they were so realistic that the pinstripes on a jersey, it's easy enough to draw the vertical pinstripes, right? On a Yankee. Yeah. But have that guy twisting, and those stripes aren't straight anymore, but they have to be angled correctly for how
you have to get the tension and everything.
Yeah,
that's a pain in the ass.
Oh man, So, and you see a lot of companies, sports wise, won't even go there, right? Every Yankee they ever make is the road grays, right? Because gray is great, flat gray, we're good, but. Todd, originally he did it with cut grooves, slightly cut into the figure, and then they could lay the paint inside it. And then eventually he wrangled the factories into being able to print the pinstripes and to print them at angles and around the sculpted seam in a jersey. And it It was game breaking, really, at the time. But that's what he was always doing with size and articulation. And he made Spawn figures with a cape that would stick out like 7 inches one way, and he would find a way to secure it and balance it. And so a lot of that was Todd. But overall, wherever I went, I worked with amazing designers and sculptors, and it was very old school at McFarlane. Very X-Acto. I don't know, it wasn't an X-Acto knife, but a blade and the clay, and they would go to
Very
town.
tactile, very traditional.
Very much. And actually, years later at Hasbro, they were looking for a portrait sculptor, a guy who could capture the face really well. And I said, I know the best guy, Gene St. Jean from McFarlane Studios, who had gone on his own and had his own freelance studio, but was still working for them on a contract basis. I said, I know the best guy. Do you want me to reach out to him? And they said, yes. And I said, hey, Gene, I got an in here. I'm at Hasbro. They need a portrait sculptor. Do you have time? Are you available? And he said, yeah, sure, absolutely. And so I connected them. And then like a couple weeks later, he said, yeah, they can't use them because they only need digital. They don't need
Hold on. Bart, just check your mic there, dude. If it's not like by your fan. There we go. All right. Yeah, I meant Bart. Yeah, Bart, check your mic. Yeah.
Yeah, the laptop fan just kicked on.
Oh, okay, cool. No, just making sure. Sorry, Mark, I didn't want to interrupt you there, but it's just...
Yeah, no problem. So it was interesting and sad on one level, right? Because I don't know if people know Gene St. Jean as well as they should, but he is top of the sculpting mountain for toy and old school in that he just takes a blade and makes magic. But now there are guys who do that exact same thing and are just as talented, just in a different medium. And that's what Hasbro needed, was a guy who could do it in CAD, and not his jam. So somebody else got that work. And so, but I got to work with guys like that too. I worked with John Warden on Transformers, who's really cut his teeth on G.I. Joe. And it's, the guy who did the Pursuit of Cobra figures that Jungle Viper with all the funky palette cloak. That's all John Warden. So I got to work with him on Transformers, and that was great. And then I worked with Lenny Panzica on Transformers for a while. He and I collaborated on the fan-built bot program that the fans voted and created Windblade, who's become such a big character in their comics and their animation. That was the contest was my design, and then the figure was his design, and that's what brought about probably the most significant new Transformers character in 20 years. So, and Lenny is the guy who's in charge of the classified right now at Hasbro. He's making all the classified stuff. And so I love that a guy that I just adored working with is the guy in charge of the actual design for my favorite brand. So that was those guys, and there were plenty more. I don't want to forget everybody. Bobby Valla is a really good friend who's making his own action figures now. Has made his own toy company, right? Better,
Action
right?
I mean, we had him on last time, and we were just talking about the lore of his story, because he's like built this really incredible world around his stuff, and it's just so cool. It's really cool.
I mean, Bobby deserves so much credit for striking out on his own, and when he had the choice of where do I want to take my career, he bet on himself, right, and doubled down and tripled down. And I was lucky that I've been able to help him just a little tiny bit on some of the Action Force stuff. So to see it resonate and take off so well is incredible, and I'm so proud of what he's done. So that
guy, he don't quit.
No, he is a good word for Bobby is relentless, and I mean I mean that in the best possible way. And it is not always to his advantage, right? How relentless he actually is, but you absolutely know where you stand with him. You know where he's coming from. And he goes after it. So good. I got nothing to praise for Bobby.
I remember it was 2 Joe Fests ago, we're sitting down having a drink, and his first Kickstarter was out. And I said, "Man, what are you going to do if this thing doesn't kick over?" And he goes, "Well, I guess I got to get a job."
Right.
So when it didn't, fund, I texted him and I said, "What are you going to do now?" He goes, "I got a plan." He's like, "I'm coming back." He's like, "I know exactly what I got to do. It's going to happen." I was like, "All right, man, I'm there with you."
And it's pretty rare for a I don't want to say fail, but for a Kickstarter to not get funded the first time and then have it come back without massive change and have it go the second time. But he just so fully believed in what he was doing. And he's a real credit. I'm so impressed with what he's done. And I certainly don't want to oversell my own contribution because it hasn't been a whole lot. I was just thrilled that he let me come in. And my favorite thing to do at Hasbro on Transformers, on Joe, was write file cards. I just loved writing file cards, and I didn't get to do it very often because there was a full writing department, right? That's their job. But when we did the Combiner Wars on Transformers, which is the best thing I ever did in toy, it was 100% mine. It was supposed to run for a year, and retailers wouldn't let them stop making it, so they had to extend it for another 6 months. That never happens. It was a big deal, and we got IDW Comics added into the packaging to introduce collectors or fans or kids to a part of the brand that maybe they weren't experiencing yet. And I got to write the character bios on a full page, back page for every one of those comics. And so I always used the original tech specs to make sure I wasn't writing anything counter to what was already established canon for those characters. But I got more room, right? So I could expand on it. Love doing that. I got to write for the G.I. Joe Collectors Club. They let me write a pair of file cards because they knew I was a huge fan of the interrogator character from Cobra. He's Cobra Fett, basically, right? It was so cool, terribly underused. And they were going to make a figure of him, and they knew I loved him. They said, "Webb, you want to write that file card?" And I'm like, it would be an absolute honor, truly, for my favorite. Nice. So I got to write that one. And then as I was supposed to write the Ghost Rider file card, the guy who pilots the stealth fighter.
Phantom, X-19, yeah.
It was actually the week I got let go. It was on my to-do list, and I hadn't done it yet. And so even as a newly unemployed brand manager, I wasn't going to let them down. And I wasn't going to let that opportunity go. So I wrote that one the day after I left and sent it to Brian Savage at the club. And it was, unfortunately, a lot of times you can't get the name of the character 20 years later, right? And that's where you get Sergeant Flash or, Anthony Flash Gambello or some derivative of it. And they couldn't get anything close to Ghost Rider. Remember, even in the comics, they couldn't call him by name because Marvel wasn't going to let somebody else be called Ghost Rider when they have a guy on a bike with a flaming head who tends
in a
to
movie,
that, right? Yeah. So instead of going with Invisible Ghoul or Ghoul Chariot or something that is sort of barely tied to it but not the right thing, because this guy was the stealth pilot, and that was his bit, right? Nobody could remember what he looked like. Nobody remembered his name. I said, just redact the file card, write out Ghost Rider, and then just black Sharpie it. So even on the file card, it's printed, redacted. And I love that so much better than if you can't get it was always
anything that you could have come up with. Yeah.
Like there were 3 levels. Can I get Ghost Rider? No. Can I do Lieutenant Ghost Rider? No. Can I do, what's his name? Something Jeffries, right? James Ghost Rider Jeffries? No. If you can't get any of those 3, sometimes we wouldn't even make the figure, wouldn't even make the character if we couldn't get anywhere close to the name. And it happens from time to time. That was one of the reasons why with the Combiner Wars, I made some new Stunticons, a new aerial box, a new. I don't think I had to change a Combaticon, but there were some guys we just couldn't get, right? And so couldn't get anything close to Wild Rider. So I didn't make Crazy Rider, right? I made Off-Road instead, brand new character. That's why we made Alpha Bravo, because we couldn't get Slingshot or anything close to it. And so rather than call him Quick Slinger, which they did later, I went, you know what? We'll just make a new guy. We'll make a helicopter, call him Alpha Bravo. So
yeah, Bart loves the name I mean, Jim's loving the Quickslinger name. I can tell.
Oh man, it was so bad when you couldn't get even close to it. It was I always thought you just had to let it go, even though for collectors they know who it's supposed to be, right? But
yeah, but it's a thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. So anyway,
when you get your paintbrushes out and make them whoever you want to make them.
Right? Yeah, I mean that's the joy of people with actual customizing talent is it doesn't matter what he's called, right? It doesn't even matter what he looks like, really, because he'll look like whatever you want when you're done with him.
What's it going to take to get you to that level? How can I get a paintbrush in your hand, get little Mark Webber, back out there, right, customizing some Joes?
You know what? I assume that's the natural progression once I run out of Lazy Bastard customs to make. So I've got a stack of Joes, and I got some work to do on what's on Joe Mind. So we are going to bring that back. I always thought Lazy Bastard Customs was a good part of the show, and not as good as Joe Colton's creepy fanboy messages.
Yeah.
And that's definitely coming back because there's no shortage of creepy fanboy messages. So we are looking to get those back and rolling again, because I always thought those were some of the best bits of audio we ever did.
Yeah, we keep
the natural progression.
I was gonna say we keep getting crazy fanboy and let's call them fan people messages for Jim. Some of them dress up as Cobra Law characters and send in pictures. We've actually had to create some kind of firewall for it. No, I'm joking, of course.
Right.
I'm gonna use
them
this
from Bart though.
I'll take them. Send them.
Don't tell people that. So because we're getting to the sort of closing few minutes, and I just want to just address some comments quickly. So White Vegeta was just referring to McFarlane when he said he actually did a second issue that was completely redone by a friend of his that was the assistant inker on it. So that's cool. That's awesome, actually. We've got a guy called Chris Baratas. He's a really big fan of Budo. So he just wants Budo stuff. Nyquist75 says, we want Steve. Nyquist75, you can get Steve. We have 2 episodes of G.I. Joeberg, the podcast that has come out this year already, and we are doing another one this coming Sunday. If you join the Patreon, you can be part of our interactive audience and come and join Steve and myself and the other Berg Force members as we get into some G.I. Joeberg madness. Nyquist75 is also like, Budo is great. Why does he get no love? Well, you said it there, dude. Budo is great. That's probably why he's not getting love. There's a lot of great figures out there that sadly just don't get the love they deserve. As I'm going through this, and then again, there's a lot of Budo conversation, and yes, I agree there should be a Jinx classified. That would be awesome. And cool. And then so then I think that's gonna take us. Hello, Stephen. Anyway, what madness is this on my channel? This is Stephen saying, well, hello, what madness is this on my channel? I'm finally unemployed enough to catch a live stream. Yes, that's my big Stephen voice. But yeah, so with that said, I think we've been here for a good session. I am going to cut these 2 up. I'm going to keep it up in its raw form, but I think I'm going to do a cut up version, the Mark Webber episode, and then the Mark Webber episode with Mark Webber. Right. and
Mark, we'll find out that the one without me is more popular, and that's okay too.
I wonder. It's still the raunchier. That I can say that. But Mark, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you have quite a tight schedule. You know, you're running What's on Your Mind and stuff as well. And I'm so glad that you can come and just talk about toys and some of your great experiences in the toy industry. That was really, really awesome. And I'm sure Bart and Jim want to say their own thing. But yeah, once again, thank you so much. And then just while I've got everybody, thank you to everybody who's been listening and who's been here from the beginning of this episode and who's just been supporting the show and doing all that good stuff. We really appreciate it. And thank you very much. I'm going to hand it over to Jim and Bart so that they can say their piece. Jim, no swearing now. Bart, as you were.
Jim?
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Mark. That was fascinating stuff, mate. I've gone into listener mode. I've been sat here listening to the inside track of the toy industry. It's been great, mate. Thank you.
I appreciate it, and I'm not talking out of school, right? There's nothing, from behind the non-disclosure agreement thing coming out here. It's been, a while since I actually was gone from Hasbro and certainly from McFarlane. So nothing I shared is out of bounds. But there aren't a lot of people in the industry or from the industry who get out there and really try to connect. And I think it's such a cool industry to be in. And we're all fans, right? There's a real difference between people in the toy industry who actually like toys and people who are in the toy industry because they are brand managers or finance people or whatever. There's a difference. And so the more of us we can keep in there, I think the better it is for everybody.
I think so too, yeah. And it's nice to have you part of the community and giving us a little peek behind the curtain now and again.
Yeah, it's a peep show. I'm happy to help.
Yay! And we love redheads. So. No, there we go. Stephen agrees. He's like, Scarlet can't be beat. Right?
There you go, redhead.
Redheads. Cool, guys. With that, Bart, is there anything you want to jump in, or just before we sneak into the night?
If you need something done with that Scarlet head, let me know. I'll take care of you. And at some point with all your kit bashing, you're going to have a bunch of leftover parts that you got to do something with. Get that paintbrush out, man, and dab some paint on it. We'll help you out with any questions you got.
All right, I will get there, and you guys can be my Sherpas. You can guide me and set me on the right path. And I did have
yourself, you lazy bastard.
Right, exactly. Somebody said I should plug the damn show, and that's the line from What's on Joe Mind. So we'll be back. We're always on the air on Friday nights at 9:00 Eastern. So Mike Irizarry runs the show, but I'm the honcho. And then of course Joe Colton, who's the queen of G.I. Joe cosplay. And my side hustle just went live last week. So if you're a baseball fan at all, check out eternalbaseball.com. We've put together the best teams over time. So all the greatest Yankees on the Yankee Club, all the greatest Mets over time. And now we're actually playing them off against each other. And it's a really cool thing that's getting some traction. So I'm trying to beat the drum and get that out there a little bit. So if you like baseball, check out eternalbaseball.com. And if you don't like baseball, don't go there because there's nothing there for you if you don't like baseball.
I thought you were going to say if you don't like baseball, you're wrong. Cool, guys. So with that, thank you, Mark. And yeah, I'm going to go and check it out. I caught my first ever Yankees game the same year as the last Joe Con. So that was really cool. And yeah, guys, thank you so much again. It's a big some assembly required goodbye. And yeah, peace out.
Good night,
and
everybody.
be good to each other. And we will see you in March for March Gear Solid.
Thanks, Mark.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Cool. And I'm just